Mass protests continue in China, where citizens are rejecting draconian lockdown policies.
Here to cover the protests is Daily Wire reporter Amanda Prestigiacomo. So, Amanda, we have really significant, some people are saying historic developments happening in several cities across China. What's going on right now?
Hi, Georgia. Yeah, things are really escalating across China, especially in major cities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Wuhan. But these are being called the biggest demonstrations against the government since Tiananmen Square. Leaked videos and foreign news coverage show police pepper spraying and beating protesters. Protesters are calling for freedom. They want the end to lockdowns, basic human rights, and they're specifically calling for President Xi Jinping to step down, which is very significant here. As we witnessed early in the pandemic, China's draconian zero COVID policies are preventing Chinese citizens from going to work, from buying food, from accessing hospitals, which has been fatal. People are being arrested for not wearing masks and continue to be sent to quarantine camps. Some videos even show Chinese authorities welding doors shut to lock people inside their homes.
Now, why are these protests happening now after years of these policies? Was there something that specifically triggered it?
Well, there have been sporadic protests for several weeks now, but a fire on Thursday at a residential high-rise in a city called Urumqi seems to have been a catalyst for nationwide demonstrations. According to the Chinese government, 10 people died in the fire, but many people suspect that number is far higher. Video seems to show people inside the building screaming to, quote, open the door and save us. And just a note here, Urumqi is known to be a predominantly Uyghur area, although many residents are also Han Chinese. After that fire, there was a candlelight vigil outside the high-rise that turned into a protest, which led to more protests elsewhere in the country. We spoke to Stephen Yates, former Deputy National Security Advisor during the Bush presidency, about this. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I think it's an accumulation of things. As often happens, the Chinese people have faced pretty incredible enforcement of these lockdowns. It's morphed from that sort of horrific prison life existence to people just getting physically beaten ruthlessly in the streets. And I think the most combustible event was the video footage of a family being burnt alive because they were locked inside their domicile due to this shutdown. And I think that was just one of those catalytic events that was seen as a last straw.
Now, have Chinese authorities responded at all to these protests?
Right now, it looks like they're focused on cracking down and containing the protests. Videos are showing beatings, arrests, and the deployment of pepper spray. There was even a reporter from the BBC who was assaulted by police while covering the protests on Sunday. There's some really nasty video of that. There's also been an effort to censor protest footage from leaking online. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, they're banned in the country, but Chinese citizens have found some clever ways to circumvent those censors. About 2 weeks ago, the AirDrop function on iPhones, that was curbed because people were using it to share information. And censorship itself is actually a major theme in these protests, as you might imagine. A major symbol of the protest is a blank sheet of paper, which represents silence. In a lot of these videos, you can see protesters holding up blank sheets of paper, including at the candlelight vigil outside the apartment building. The government has been extremely vigilant about suppressing hashtags associated with the protests, so the workaround has been posting these blank squares. Life has become increasingly tough in China over the past few years. The economic growth has slowed, unemployment is spiking, especially with young people, and the country's housing market is in serious crisis. And with the rise of the internet, Chinese citizens are increasingly aware of the freedoms people have in other countries. But it remains to be seen whether this round of protests will achieve any major change.
Right. Well, we're going to continue to monitor this. Amanda, thanks for reporting.
Yeah, my pleasure.
That was Daily Wire reporter Amanda Prestigiacomo.
Coming up, calls on